Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide, and today we are doing the review of the Tab Mini C, the 7.8-inch color e-ink tablet PC device, that's how it's branded, from Boox. Now, some months ago when this came out, I did the unboxing, but in the meantime I had a ton of other things to actually, like a backlog of devices to go through. So I went through them, and now finally it's its turn to check it out in a little bit more detail to see what it is actually like as a device. Full disclosure, this device has been sent to me by Boox as a review loan device, but as soon as I'm done with it, it is going off to another reviewer, a school, or back to them, depending on what the case may need be. But the whole point is that this is not a sponsored video. I don't get to keep the device, so what I do get to keep is my own integrity and my own opinion. That level of independence is something that you guys value a lot, and that level of independence is only possible because of your guys' support. So I really do value that a lot, and if you do like the work that I do, please do like and subscribe to the channel and comment on the videos, because that really does help out the videos battle that YouTube algorithm so that actually more users can see and find the information that they may also find useful. Also, if you do want to support the channel further, please do check out the mydeepguide.com/shop, where you will find the My Daily Organizer, which is a hyperlinked PDF file for organizing all of your yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily needs. And you will find the My Deep Guide Meeting Planner, which is again a hyperlinked PDF file that helps you centralize, simplify, and organize all of your meeting needs. If either of the two sounds like something that you might be interested in, check out the links in the description down below, and you will find dedicated playlists that will give you tons of details so that you understand if either or none of the products is the right one for you. And now let's check out the Boox Tab Mini C. Right, and here is the Tab Mini C. This is the latest 7.8-inch color e-ink e-reader and a note-taking capable device from Boox. And despite the rebranding into a Tab Mini C, this is actually a Nova housing that has been fattened up quite a little bit so that it can accommodate for a much more massive battery, which is necessary because Tab Mini C has the dedicated GPU, or the BSR, Boox Super Refresh technology. That is their proprietary technology that provides for unparalleled levels of both speed, clarity, and ghosting clearance performance in their devices that are BSR enabled. That GPU and that technology is very power hungry, so these devices need bigger batteries and they drain them quickly. So despite it having a much bigger battery and more weight and more thickness than a standard Nova Air or Nova Air 1 or 2 or whichever you want to take, it's not going to have the same battery life as those devices, but it's going to have significantly better performance. Now, as far as the specifications go, so as already said, 7.8-inch color Kaleido 3 panel that has a black and white density of 300 ppi and 150 ppi of the color density of the color content. This is a passive color filter on top, so no, you don't have a switch to make the device be grayscale only. The color is always there, and no, it does not affect the consumption of the battery because it is a passive color matrix that is on top of the regular black and white ink cells. It is equipped with a dual front light that is independently controlled both the color and the intensity. It has an 8-core CPU that has 4 cores that can turbo up to 1.8 gigahertz and 4 cores that turbo up to 2.02 gigahertz. It has 4 gigabytes of RAM. In this case, this is how much it's available. It has 64 gigabytes of storage flash ROM. It is not expandable via the micro SD card slot, so 64 is what you get. It has a microphone, it has dual speakers, it has a USB-C for data communication, charging, and it is USB-C OTG compatible. It has normal Wi-Fi 2.4 and 5 GHz compatibility, Bluetooth 5.0. It runs Android 11. It has a G sensor. The battery is 5,000 milliamp, so as I said, quite massive. It weighs in at 264 grams, and it has the thickness of 8.3 millimeters, which is quite significantly more than what we had before. I think it's about something like that, almost 1 millimeter more. It is both touch capacitive and Wacom EMR capacitive capable. So yes, this is a device where you can write on. You get a standard Boox pen with it, and you don't get the Pen 2 Pro with the eraser. No, you get the standard pen, which is magnetic, holds on to the device well, and it actually holds on enough that if you are careful, you can actually lift the device via that pen. So yeah, it comes only in a single color, which is this kind of plain black, and design-wise, yeah, as I said, it's exactly the same. It's like a fat Nova Air device, and it doesn't have any pizzazz or anything to it other than this little design on the bottom. So that's pretty much it. For me, there's nothing really wrong per se about this design, but it's incredibly boring, bland, and it's just a tablet. So yeah, if you're into something that's going to be kind of visually exciting or something, yeah, Tab Mini C is not about that, and it's not going to deliver that. But what it does offer is something that I think is important and valuable, and that is symmetrical borders on the sides and on the top and bottom, which means that you can have an equally good experience viewing and using this device either in the portrait or in the landscape mode. Build quality is excellent. The materials that are used are high class. So this is an aluminum, so a metal bucket design all the way on the back, which is very lovely machined, and it's done in a very good quality. So high quality here definitely, and really good attention to details. So on the edges where the screen meets this bucket, you don't have, like on the Tab Ultra C, we don't have any super protruding edges or anything like that. This is all quite nice and comfortable. On the top we have this plastic button, but it does have an LED there, so it's very kind of easy to use, standard kind of normal stuff. Feels a little bit cheapish, but it works, it does the job okay. Yeah, but as I said, there's nothing really special about it. Flush screen, of course, on the surface, and it is a glass panel on top, which does not have any kind of paper-like or anti-reflection dimming type of screen protection. So it is just simply the glass, and it's not even true AG glass. So unfortunately, the reflectivity of the screen is quite high, and that is something, it's high and sharp, so that's something that I'm not really a fan of. It's marginally better than what we've seen on the Tab Ultra and on the Tab X, and also on the Tab Ultra C, because Tab Ultra and Tab Ultra C have the same surface, so marginally better than that, and offers a little bit, maybe tiny bit more friction, but it's pretty much the same type of character and the same type of feel. So when you're writing on it, you do not have a paper-like feel. It is not the super glassy type of feel like it is on an iPad, for example, because there is some very small surface, you know, kind of friction to it, very light, so it is still glass, so you do feel a little bit better than on an iPad, but not by much, and by no stretch of imagination is this paper-like in any way, shape or form. So the build quality really good for the device of this price range, but then again, it's like $400 and almost $50 or $430. I'll double check, the price will be shown here, the correct one, and that's a very high price for something that it does deliver. It has a ton of things, and more on that in the conclusion, but for me, the design, the build quality definitely delivers on the price. The design, not so much. Nothing really exciting here. And additionally, the design-wise, when I'm talking about the ergonomics, while I love the symmetry of the design, that's actually really good, and it lends itself really good for writing, sketching, or anything like that. It's really, really good. But I come from Nova Air 1, which was an excellent portable 7.8-inch note-taking and e-reader device, and this is the added thickness and the added weight, to me personally, just kind of defeats the purpose of this, because this is too heavy and too thick for my liking and for my use case scenario to actually comfortably use it in one hand. Screen, as we've said, it is the Kaleido 3 color e-ink screen, which we've seen on the Tab Ultra C, and also the same screen is actually used on the Bigme S6 Color Plus, I believe it's called. So yeah, it is a familiar technology. So it does bring color content that is okay, and it can be actually calibrated to a good degree, but don't expect super awesome accurate color representations, especially in the red and in the red range, mainly in the red range, because the red range is a little bit more like a brick red than a true red, and that's a tint that you will kind of see all throughout all of the content. I personally don't mind it at all. Actually, on the contrary, I like that kind of look, simply because it makes it feel like I'm reading a magazine. So if you are looking for that type of experience, then yes, definitely this screen and the Tab Mini C, they definitely do deliver on that front. As far as the speed of the device and the refreshment page refresh speed, so for example, if I switch to speed mode, you can see that this device is able to do really extraordinary speeds and extraordinary clarity, because don't forget, we are actually going from black here with some transparency and white text on that, and then we switch to this one, and there's no ghosting whatsoever that you can see. Even here, traditionally we would see like huge amounts of ghosting in these types of devices, but no, that is not the case here. So as far as the pure image quality and screen quality, the combination with the BSR technology and the performance, the specifications of the device, it just means that as an e-reader, this thing is capable of doing anything that you throw at it, and it will actually deliver a very nicely looking color content, which is kind of magazine-like type of content that you can see. If you're looking for precise color content, e-ink cannot deliver that. And another consequence of the color matrix, passive color matrix that is on top, is that the screen whiteness is never going to be fully white. This is how it is when it looks like it's fully white. And for a comparison, this is a white envelope. So it's a very big difference between, so this is by no stretch of imagination is it white. It's kind of greenish tint, maybe a little bit orangish, so that's the tint that you will always have. However, you do have the Frontlight that is capable of compensating that, and while we're talking about the Frontlight, let's check that out. All right, so this is with the Frontlight turned off, and now I'm gonna just introduce the Frontlight to around 50%, and it's actually quite nice because then it brings up the intensity just enough, and with the color slider here, you can go to cold color, or you can go to warmer color, and then you can actually just tint the coloration of the background in a way that you like, and then you can actually compensate for that natural screen darkness that the Kaleido screen technology inherently brings with it. The intensity of the Frontlight, I think, is calibrated very nicely, and the Frontlight is of an excellent quality because, as you can see, uniformity is quite nice. There's some slight darkening towards the edges, but it's nothing really tremendously bad. So overall impression is that this is a very good and very pleasant Frontlight. It's not of the best quality like you would see on Kobo and Kindle devices, but it is definitely just a tiny notch behind those, and it's of a really good quality. Now the intensity also I think is calibrated adequately, because it doesn't have the unnecessary maximum volumes that some devices have. So the maximum of the Frontlight is actually quite usable, and then you have a lot more sensitivity across this range of, I believe it's like 26 or 28 steps of sensitivity, and then you can actually dial it down in a very nice way. Another thing that I really do like on the Tab Mini C is the fact that how the dual light front light is actually controlled. On some of the devices they have like the warm and the cold light sliders, and the intensity of the warm and the cold light separate, and then you would have to kind of adjust those separately. So you can never actually adjust in that system. You can't adjust the color exactly that you want and then adjust the temperature. You would always have to guess. Here we have the intensity and the color separate, right? So I can adjust my intensity and then I can just make it fully blue, and then you can see how that looks like when it's fully cold light, or fully warm when it goes into here. And the cool thing about this system is that if I wanted, let's say I adjust my color warmth to be exactly like I would like it, maybe a little bit on the colder side like this, and then I adjust my intensity to just tint up the screen ever so slightly so that it's visible even in darker conditions, and maybe I can just pinch it a little bit more, and that is it. There you go. So yeah, the front light on the Tab Mini C, very versatile, easy to control, really well calibrated, and of a very good quality and uniformity. As far as the image quality goes, I think that it's really good, especially for a smaller screen like this. So for example, if I load up a smaller document like this, we get to have the advantages of the Neo Reader, which is able to format to width, for example, really easily, and then you can have a much more readable and usable document. And here is the maximum zoomed camera shot of the text on the on the Tab Mini C, and for size reference, so that you can see what the clarity is and how the 300 ppi in the black and white content is like. This is the tip of the screen. So this is very small kind of fonts, but still they're really crisp, clear, and readable. Overall, the screen quality and the screen itself on the Tab Mini C, I think, is excellent, and the combination of having this the ability to actually just go into a quick refresh mode and have minimum image degradation and gain so much of the performance, it just makes it a really usable device for reading any kind of documents that you may have. So that addition of having color content really lends itself in a really good way, especially here when you're using it as an e-reader. So the overall combination is, as an e-reader, this is just simply a super awesome powerhouse, and one of the major components of that is this screen. As far as battery life goes, well, as I said, this is a BSR enabled device, so that means that its power consumption and power efficiency is going to be drastically lower than a non-BSR enabled Boox or any other e-ink type of device. So that is something that kind of negates one of the major advantages of an e-ink device, and that's a debate for another video, but you just need to be kind of aware of that all that awesome performance and everything that you see, it does come at both a financial cost but also at the battery consumption cost. So the end result is that despite the Tab Mini C being thicker, heavier, and having a 5000 milliamp battery, it still has dramatically lower battery life than the Nova equivalent, Nova Air 1 or Nova Air 2, which are several years older devices than this one is. So the results are, for example, as a reader, I would just put it into auto page flip mode, and then every 20 seconds it would flip a page, and I would give it different front light conditions. It's always without Bluetooth and always with the Wi-Fi Wi-Fi turned on. And the results for the Tab Mini C is, with the Frontlight set at 50%, it was spending around 10% of battery life per hour, which amounts to an estimate of 10 hours of reading time with the Frontlight 50% per charge. If you bump the Frontlight all the way to the maximum, to 100%, then the consumption was down to, or up to, 11% per hour, which is around 9.1 hours per charge of reading or page flipping, continuous page flipping time. And if you drop that Frontlight all the way down to 0, then the consumption also goes down to 3% per hour, which then gives you around 33.3 hours per charge of continuous reading time, which is not bad at all. But the 10-hour figure, and when you're actually using that Frontlight, it is going to impact the battery life while reading. And the negative side of that is that when combined with the darkness of the Kaleido screen, well, that means that more often than not, you will be using that Frontlight, which means that you will be using more of that battery life, and that it's not that often that you're going to be in a situation where you're going to utilize and get the maximum, those 33.3 hours of reading time out of this device. When writing, I do the similar type of test. I write for an hour with the Frontlight at 30%, and then write for another hour continuously with the Frontlight at 0% or turned off. And the battery consumption with the Tab Mini C in both of them is exactly the same, because at that point, when you're continuously writing, that in itself, the writing operation is far more CPU and memory intensive than the Frontlight, and then the actual system becomes the main consumer of the battery energy. And then the consumption was the same, and it was 14% per hour, which gives you around 7.14 hours per charge of continuous writing. Now, while on its own, these battery figures and the battery life is not bad, definitely not bad, because it's gonna get you through the day for sure. But in the realms of e-readers and e-note takers, that is considered bad, because these devices are supposed to last, and for weeks at a time, sometimes like 2 weeks, 3 weeks of use without any charge. And if that is what you're expecting, you will not get that out of a Tab device or any BSR enabled Boox device. Tab Mini C does not escape that consequence either. In this video, I'm going to be focusing on the device itself, not so much on the Boox OS itself. So I'm not going to be covering the functionalities of the Neo Reader or the functionalities of the notebooks and things like that, simply because I am planning to create a much more detailed series of videos that will cover all of these things that can then be applied to multiple different devices. So you have all of the functionality of any other Boox device that you may want. Now, if you want to reference these things, I invite you to watch my review of the Tab Ultra, Tab X, or the Tab Ultra C, where I have covered those features, some of those features, in a little bit more detail. So simply because that content already exists and it's already, divided into nice chapters, you have the exact same functionalities here on the Tab Mini C. So basically, all of the stuff that you can see and have on the Tab Ultra and the Tab Ultra C, you have all of it exactly the same, and it works exactly the same on the Tab Mini C as well. As far as the overall performance of the device, this is a really snappy device. So generally speaking, when you're in a overall system-wide, you can choose different modes of refresh modes, with the HD being the one with most clarity but slowest. Then you have balanced, which is a balance between speed and quality. Then the fast, of course, favors speed at the expense of quality, and ultra fast is the fastest with the least amount of quality. And I find that the balanced is really well balanced mode, and I keep my device pretty much all the time in that mode, and I don't really have any problems with it. The image quality and clarity is always great, and the performance is always awesome. So basically, no matter what I do, when I jump between menus and I check, okay, different folders, different this, going back to home, for example, and then, okay, I go into the library, let's open up, I don't know, maybe this one here, so then you're opening up a bigger document with a large image. It doesn't matter, it just tackles everything that you throw at it with a really good way. So coupled with the formatting and everything, I mean, for example, it has auto rotation, which is excellent. So if I'm reading a document that is a little bit too small for this format, I can simply flip it into landscape mode, and if it is in fit width, it will automatically fit the width of the document and continue. I can continue using it this way. So for example, if this is a little bit too pale for me, I can just simply increase vividness or color brightness and the darkness of the overall system. But if I don't want to do that, I don't have to do it system wide because of the Neo reader. I can also go into the contrast and then embolden and then make it a little bit sharper. Then you can have dark color enhancements if you want. Then you can shape your PDF viewing to your specific needs, which is an incredibly flexible way of actually dealing with this kind of stuff. So yeah, overall the performance of the Tab Mini C is excellent on all fronts. So even in browsing, I mean, the performance is really excellent. So I'm intentionally opening this page, which is just yeah, it's a meaningless page, but it has a lot of chaotic content on it, and it's something that would traditionally perform really badly on an e-ink device. And you can still see the thing that I was talking about. Handling of the orange and red and pink tones is not that good on the Kaleido 3, and that's something that it struggles with. But it does look like, you know, faded newspaper print. I really can't differentiate it a lot between those. So if you're looking like browsing and doing, you know, social media or news or anything like that, this is actually possible on this device. And right now I'm in fast mode, but if you want a little bit more quality, you can switch to balanced, and you do get a little bit more little bit less speed, but you can see that the sharpness is increased, and basically the darkness is also increased, and everything is a little bit more kind of tightened up. And I would just kind of say that the HD mode is made in a really smart way, because what it actually does is it flips into a speed mode of some sort while you're kind of browsing and dragging. So when I'm having a drag mode, I'm in a faster refresh mode, and then when I release, then it refreshes back into HD mode. So it's quite a lot of nice levels of controls that you actually have for the screen refresh and the overall performance that you can actually impact. And of course, ultra fast is really very fast, especially for an e-ink device. This is unprecedented levels, like we've seen on the Tab Ultra C, the same type of unprecedented levels of clarity and quality we see on the Tab Mini C as well. So overall, the screen performance, the performance of the device itself, it never lacks any oomph or any power. I think it's balanced very nicely. The only thing that I have noticed is that around here in the back of the device, if you're going to push it a little bit too much, and especially if it's doing a lot of ghost clearing and things like that, it can get a little bit kind of lukewarmish there, but nowhere near as warm as we've seen as I've experienced it on the Bigme S6 Color Plus. So that one gets actually really warm. This one, no, this one just gets kind of lukewarm. And again, this is a benefit of actually having a metal device which acts like a giant heatsink for whichever component it is. My suspicion is that that's the GPU that's responsible for BSR technology here, and that it's passively cooling around and using the metal shell of the device to dissipate the heat. And that's basically what it feels like, which is fine. That's normal how to actually use these things. So overall, the performance of the Tab Mini C is top notch. Tab Mini C is a Google Play enabled device, which means that you don't have to do any shenanigans. Out of the box, you simply start your Google Play Store, you log in with your account, and off you go. And yeah, all of the benefits that we've talked about with the refresh speeds and everything like that all apply here. And again, if you're interested in more details about these things, you can again check out the Tab Ultra C review, because all of that was covered in detail there, and all of it applies exactly the same on the Tab Mini C as well. Note-taking is a very pleasant affair on the Tab Mini C. As it is a color device, you have a color palette available here, which is demonstrated with these drawings that I've made here, so that you can see how the interpretations of the colors are. Now you can see that depending on which refresh mode you are in, you will have some ghosting. You will see it more than in other modes. I've noticed that I can actually see ghosting a little bit more in the note-taking mode. I tend to go again back into the balanced mode even when writing, simply because of that ghosting performance, because in the normal mode I do get a little bit more ghosting, or the same type of ghosting you see here as well, but it's just a little bit more pleasant in the balanced mode. Now, of course, you have additional settings where you can actually really tweak the behavior, the screen refresh behavior, and then after each action, or after each page flip, it can do a full screen refresh, so you can get rid of that ghosting. But one thing that you should be aware of is that the color content on the notebooks will reflect more ghosting than you would normally see with the regular black strokes. Again, with the functionality, I'm not going to go into it because it's again exactly the same like it is on the Tab Ultra C, so you can reference that video as well. All that I'm going to do here is actually just give you a writing example of using a normal regular brush here. So I'm using a pen with the black color, and I'm just gonna write a little bit here so you can see how the writing is on the Tab Mini C. So the writing speed on the Tab Mini C is excellent, and you will see that in the D.E.S.T.A test section that is coming up right after this. But the writing experience itself is not just the speed, it's a lot about everything else. The factors that affect quality and of the writing experience for me is writing speed, screen reflectivity, screen surface or the screen roughness, the stability of the device when you're writing on it, and the distance of the pen or the surface to the screen. And out of those 5, Tab Mini C performs excellent in writing speed. It really does, because writing speed is awesome. And before anyone asks, is there a writing speed difference between color or black? No, because you're still effectively just using black and white ink cells, which refresh at the exact same speed. And it's just the passive color matrix that's applied there that creates the illusion of the color content. So no speed differences depending on what color you actually use. screen reflectivity is, as I said, not that good on the Tab Mini C. The screen surface is not paper-like, it's quite glassy, and that means that it's quite slippery when you're writing on it, and this is something that I don't personally like. Some people will like it. It's not gel-like, it is glassy and it is kind of slippery, so it doesn't really feel that good. It didn't feel good on the Tab Ultra, it didn't feel good on the Tab Ultra C, and it equally doesn't feel good here as well. Some people are okay with it, but for me, I prefer a little bit more roughness, and then it's something that I actually quite like. 1 was good, 2 not so much, 3 not so much. Then we have the stability of the device, and while it is better than the Tab Ultra C because it does not have that dreadedly awful camera bump in the back, which just made it completely unstable, because of the added thickness, they wanted to make this device a little bit more sexier, and they added this kind of rounding of the edges. And granted, this is comfortable for handling in the hand for reading. So for reading, it actually works okay to hold it in a hand if you disregard the weight, which I can't because it's a really heavy device. But when we get to the writing part of things, then that actually creates a bit of an issue, and the device is constantly kind of rocking a little bit, as you can see. So when I lean my hand on it, it's lifting here on the side quite significantly. So this is how I would normally write, and as I go here, so I start from the middle, no problems here, and then as I get to the side, the device keeps lifting. So that means that I have to use 2 hands to secure it. So usually when I'm writing on this device, I would secure one of the corners to make sure that that bending and lifting on the side doesn't really happen. So for me, that's something that I don't prefer, and it just goes back to the ergonomics of the device. It's not really that good. And finally, the screen distance, or the distance of the pen to screen is okay, but it's fairly standard at 1.1 millimeters when I actually measured it. So it's yeah, it's exactly the same like what you would expect from previous devices, and it's exactly the same like on Tab Ultra, Tab Ultra C, and every other device before the Tab Mini C. So perfectly average there. So out of the whole entire writing experience, the writing speed is the best. Everything else is meh, average to not good. So overall writing experience on the Tab Mini C, it can definitely do it. You can definitely use it for that, but it leaves several areas here for, you know, quite a bit of improvement. Writing latency on the Tab Mini C is very, very, very good. It's so good, in fact, that it's actually marginally better than on the Tab Ultra C, which is quite interesting. So the D.E.S.T.A result shows that the Tab Mini C has the latency of 22.54 milliseconds, which places it on the 4th place on the D.E.S.T.A chart, which is really, really good. Now, while the latency is extremely good, that doesn't mean that the writing experience is excellent because of all of the other stuff that I've already mentioned, because it's so slippery and shiny and all of that kind of stuff, but the writing latency is certainly there. As far as the writing surface resistance goes, it is expectedly slippery and as it is shiny. So like it is with the Ultra and Ultra C, the reflectivity is the thing that's going to give away the surface resistance. And as I said, the reflectivity of the Tab Mini C is marginally better than the Ultra and the Ultra C, and that the same result is in the surface resistance. It's marginally better than what we have on the Ultra and Ultra C, or marginally more paper-like, at 19.39% of the paper surface resistance. And ultimately, this is an Android 11 system. No, it will never be updated to Android 12, and this is most likely due to the licensing issues of how Boox is obtaining the SoC supplies, system on chip supplies, which basically come in with a cap up to which Android version they are legally allowed to kind of use on this. So even though this will of course run Android 12 and Android 13 without any problems, this is never never going to be updated to an Android 12 or 13. So that's something that you have to kind of keep in mind. For pure reader, writer kind of things, not a big deal, but because this is now being marketed as a portable tablet PC, well, then that is a thing, because then you have to kind of think about compatibility, you have to think about the security updates and all of that kind of stuff. And in 2023, end of 2023, Android 11 is a dated system, and it would have been nicer to actually see something a bit more modern on a system like this. That being said, it is an Android 11, so you have the Google Play Store, as I said, but you also have screencast, you have screen capture, you can do screenshot, you can record your audio, you can do pretty much most of the stuff that you can do with an Android device, you can do it with this. One thing that you have to kind of keep in mind is that this is an e-ink powered device, so that means that your real-time writing that you've seen, that excellent performance that you've seen in Notepad, it will work only on the apps, on the native app, basically on the native Notepad taking app. Anything else is the majority, massive majority of apps will not work that well, simply because they do not support e-ink refresh protocols. And I'm not going to get into the whole thing of how the difference is between a standard screen refresh rate and how an e-ink is refreshed. But basically what you're going to get is, if you're not using the native note-taking app, handwriting in other apps that are not e-ink optimized is going to be dreadfully and unusably slow. Despite all of this refresh thing, it's going to be quite a lot slower. The only exceptions to this are OneNote and Evernote, if I'm not mistaken, because there are two dedicated versions of these apps that utilize like a cheat, where basically you can write almost like in the same similar speed, not the same but similar speed like this, and what you're doing is actually just writing on top of an app, and then once you release the stroke, the device actually samples what you have written and sends it into the app, and then the app displays it. So that is a cheat system. It might work for some kind of demonstration purposes, but in reality I don't think that this is something that avid OneNote and Evernote users are going to be happy with, and it definitely is not the same experience as what you will get on the default Notepad. So it's definitely something that you kind of have to keep in mind. And of course, even though this device is not meant for that, you can use YouTube. So as you can see, I haven't even installed it, but so that you can see the speed, how this device is actually responsive and how it functions. Yeah, this is the speed of download, so the transfer and writing speed is really good. And now we are installing it, so let's see how long that takes. And of course, yeah, you have the ability to install Kindle, you can install Kobo, you can install Spotify, you can install Netflix if you want to watch on this. You can install Audible because it's a Bluetooth enabled device. You can use a Bluetooth peripherals with this device, so a Bluetooth keyboard or a Bluetooth mouse. All of these things apply on it because it is a Bluetooth Android 11 device. So yeah, okay, so here we are in YouTube. In this case, we are in, let's go to fast mode. In this case, I would definitely use a fast mode. So this is really cool. Okay, let's actually get to balanced and see if there's a difference. Yeah, there's a slight difference in quality. So let's check this out. Okay.
The exciting world of home recording. Does the idea of spending every single free moment working.
So here we have, for example, YouTube, and let me just kind of search for something. Let's look through landscape, landscapes, some kind of video with landscapes so that we can see how that actually works. And let's go Earth from above. Norway, why not? There, that's a beautiful Norway. So let's go into full screen. And of course it has stereo speakers, so that works. They're nothing spectacular, but for normal, regular kind of voice content, I think it's more than enough. So let's see if there's anything interesting in this video that we can actually see. So can we zoom in? Yep, we can. So yeah, for that kind of stuff, kind of works. Let's open up a different video, which is more of a regular type of a thing.
First, I'm gonna go through the
Okay,
differences
so let's go to ultra fast.
that I think is an important thing.
And let's go to something where there's motion. Okay, so let's change to the demo song here. It's a fairly dark video, so let's see if Frontlight helps here. Nope. So with the darkness and the dark content, as you can see, music you can actually hear okay, but with the darker content, not so much. It's not really that happy. So yeah, it's a limited type of thing for video, but then again, this is not meant to be something that you should watch video on. But for those who may be interested, can you do it? Yes, you can. It's not going to be an enjoyable experience, but it is technically possible to do this. And finally, I would like to address the cover that you get with the Tab Mini C. It's a nice cover. It's a good quality cover, okay quality. There's no stitching. That's something that I don't like. And it's a fully magnetic type of affair. So you just simply slot the device there, close it, everything is magnetically held in place, and it holds the pen and it holds the device really, really well. The magnet is quite strong, so it does hold the device despite its weight. If you are, for example, gonna lift it just from one side, because this device does not have a flat bottom, it has these kind of chunky bottom here. It is sensitive to kind of lifting just on one side, then it will drop the device and it can actually fall on the screen. But that's a very, very rare and kind of specific thing. Generally speaking, I think it's a really good packaging. The only thing is that once you add that, because it is a little bit of a weightier type of cover because of the magnets, it adds to the weight, and now when you add the package, the cover to this whole thing, it just becomes really, really heavy, and for my taste, way too heavy for something that's supposed to be easy and portable. But overall package is very practical, very well made, and really, really good. It's just that the ergonomics of it might be definitely on the negative side of things for certain users, and I find myself as one of those. Alright, so it's the conclusion time for the Tab Mini C, and as usual, let's start with the cons. Well, the first con for me would have to be the actual design. Basically, it's too bland and too ordinary. Maybe that's exactly what some people would like, but for me that's just simply, there's nothing that's exciting about this, there's nothing that seems new about this or anything like that. So it's a very, very boring and bland design. Second thing would be the dimensions and yeah, the thickness and the weight. I do not like that it got so thicker and so much heavier than the Nova Air 2 and Nova Air 1. I think that it is a problem for something that essentially should be a portable device. It makes it quite a bit bricky. Another con for me is the surface itself. It's too shiny, it's too slippery, so the reflectivity is something that I really don't like, and the slipperiness is the same thing, the consequence of the same surface. That means that the writing experience is a little bit too glassy and not as pleasant as it was on Nova Air 1. Another con would be that it comes with an Android 11, and that is simply too old for 2023. And another con would be that while it does have a massive battery of 5000 milliamps, which is really good, the battery life is not as good as it was on the Nova Air 1 or on the Nova Air 2. So the device gets thicker, more expensive, heavier, and gets worse battery life. But it does get a lot more performance as well. So Yeah. The other negative would be the inherent negative that is associated with pretty much all of the Boox devices, and that reflects the Boox OS intuitiveness. While granted, it is getting better. It's finally starting to get better, and we are seeing some improvements, which is really, really good to see. It's still a very fragmented operating system, and it's a very fragmented user environment, which has a very, very steep learning curve. The price is way, way too high for what this objectively brings to the table. Another con is also the inherent darkness of the Kaleido 3 screen. So yeah, if you compare it to a monochromatic screen, the white color is going to be considerably darker. Granted, you can actually compensate that with the Frontlight, but then you're going to be spending a little bit more battery life as well. So yeah, it's definitely a con that you need to keep in mind. Now on to the pros of the Tab Mini C. It has a Kaleido 3 screen with BSR, Boox Speed Refresh technology, which makes it pretty much the best performing color e-ink 7.8 inch tablet on the market today. The only competitor that it will have is the Bigme S6 Color Plus, but that one doesn't have BSR, and that one actually costs more than this one, and Tab Mini C already has a con of its price, that it's too pricey, and the other one is even more pricier and gives worse performance. It doesn't make too much sense. That's its competitor, but it outperforms it and outclasses it. So it is the best performing 7.8 inch color e-ink e-reader and note taker on the market. It has a full-on Android environment with the Google Play Store and everything that entails. Really, really tremendous amount of flexibility and functionality. Writing latency is exceptionally good on this device. Because of the Neo Reader and the Note Taker flexibility that has been upgraded in the recent updates, even despite its small size, you are able to use it effectively in the landscape format, and it's flexible to actually go between portrait and landscape because of the auto rotation functionality as well. So because of the combined possibilities, functionalities and features, this is a very, very flexible device and can maintain a myriads of situations and can handle them really, really well. And here comes another pro, which is it can handle them really well because of its really powerful specifications. In summary, what do I objectively think about the Tab Mini C? And then I'll tell you what I subjectively think about Tab Mini C. Yeah, it's easy. It's the most powerful 7.8 inch e-ink device on the market currently. However, all of that power comes at a significant cost and at significant weight and heft and thickness and also boringness. I don't really know if there is a need for a 7.8 inch tablet PC replacement device that uses an e-ink color screen. As such, I think it's trying to do too many compromises on too many fronts, and it doesn't really know what it wants. But if you do understand what it's for and you say like, well, that's your problem that you don't get it, I get it, then great. Because if you do get it and you're fine with a lower battery life performance and bland design and not really good writing surface and high reflectivity and the darkness of the screen, which is an inherent negative of all Kaleido 3 panels, well then if you're okay with all of that, then you will be happy with the Tab Mini C. As it is, this is definitely not a device for me, but I do think that it will find its niche audience. Who is this device good for? Well, people with very deep pockets who will want to use this for reading on the go and marking up documents and writing a lot of things and things like that. I think that this is a really, really good thing. If it's just for reading, then it's far too much of everything, far too much thickness, far too much weight, far too much money, far too much of everything for just that kind of purpose. And I would suggest to wait until maybe something different appears. But if you really must have that performance and you really must have the colors and all of the stuff that it actually delivers, well then you go for it and you probably will be happy. Alright, that's it for me. I hope that you found the video useful, informative, or fun. If you did, please like and subscribe and ding the notification bell in the description below to get notified when new videos come out on My Deep Guide. Also, let me know in the comments down below what is your opinion of the Tab Mini C. Do you already have it? What is your experience with the Tab Mini C? And I'm especially interested in people who previously owned a Nova Air 1 or Nova Air 2. Are you tempted to go for the Tab Mini C, and do you see the point of it, and what do you see as the point of a device like this? I would genuinely like to hear your opinion on this. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye!